At 7 o'clock. As chair of the Timberlane Regional School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the board at timberlane.net/ZoomTRSB. If anybody has a problem, please call 382-6541, extension 3955. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Kat, can you take the attendance, please?
Ryan Boyle.
Here, I'm alone in the room. There are other family members in the household.
Lee Doobie.
I'm here and I'm alone.
Kim Farah.
I'm here. I'm alone in the room. There are other members of the family in the house.
Barbara Kishka.
I am present. I am alone in the house and have silenced Alexa.
Sheila Lowe's.
I am here alone in the house.
No Sarah. Sean O'Neill.
I'm here in my office and I'm alone in the building.
No Kristen Savage. Jennifer Silva.
I am alone in my office with other people in the house.
Dr. Cochran.
I'm present. I'm alone in my office and there's another family member in the house.
And Jenna Horan.
I'm here alone in the room, but there are other members of my family in the household.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to the approval of the minutes. Hang on, I need to get the date here. It's in here.
December 17th.
Yeah,
7th.
January 7th. There are two sets of minutes here. There's the January 7th and the January 11th minutes. I'll look for a motion on the January 7th minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 7th minutes.
Second.
Just
And
one
just-
little amendment.
Yes.
The first sentence says the December 17th minutes, so,
Oh,
which is why I was off.
okay.
Thank you. Other than that, they're fine.
Thank you. Kat, can you take the roll call on that, please?
Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
Mr. Doobie.
Yes.
Dr. Farah.
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's.
Yes.
No Mrs. McNamara. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
No Mrs. Savage and Mrs. Silva.
Muted, yes, yes, yes.
Okay, moving on to the January 11th minutes.
Move to accept the January 11th minutes.
Sheila makes a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Brian seconds. Any discussion? Kat, can you take a roll call, please?
Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
Mr. Doobie.
Abstain.
Dr. Farah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's.
Yes.
No Mrs. McNamara. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mrs. Savage, no, and Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the student rep. Jenna, nice to see you back again.
Nice to see you too. I have not a lot from elementary schools, but Sandown TLC reached out to me, and they said that because of the electrical fire, they've been remote all week, but their students are still doing a fantastic job, working diligently on showing kindness to others and working as a team. I've also heard that from Atkinson Academy, from Pollard School, and from Danville Elementary, as well as Sandown North, that their kids are doing phenomenally, working as a team amidst these very, very difficult times for young kids. At the middle school, the Timberlane Regional Middle School Student Senate is collecting toiletries, food, and new clothes to support the Holy Angels Food Pantry. Donations can be brought into advisory or dropped off in the front office for anyone interested in participating. The 8th graders, as well as all high school students besides seniors, are in the process right now of choosing their classes for next year, which I know is a very exciting time, and I kind of wish I was doing that right now. It's just so exciting and new, especially for 8th graders going into their freshman year. So I wish everyone the best of luck choosing the classes that are perfect for them. At Sandown North, their 2nd grade students have been paired up with English Honor Society students to work together and do a reading group. Their students are also researching animals, and they have written up new knowledge alongside pictures of their animals. Mrs. Stafford wrote, "Did you know that cows can sleep standing up?" which is one of the kids' biggest parts of their presentation. At the high school, students are preparing for midterms next week, which I know I've had a lot of kids reach out to me about how much pressure they feel from their teachers and other students, because this year has been extremely hard, especially for kids that have difficulties with remote learning. So I'm just giving everyone good vibes, wishing for the best, and telling both teachers and students to just relax a little bit, because this isn't easy for anyone. The National Honor Society at the high school has a Chipotle fundraiser going on February 2nd from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Chipotle in Haverhill. All information can be found by asking an NHS member or looking at their social media pages. And then finally, Spanish Honor Society has a usual favorite fundraiser of Los Reyes. And although students couldn't do the usual festivities, they celebrated with a virtual Spanish trivia this week, and they had students from all grades come, and it was really amazing. Lastly, I just wanted to share something that a lot of predominantly girls in my grade have come to me with, and it was for me to ask you, the board, and Dr. and Mr. Pedersen and Mr. Dowd and everyone, about prom this year and what people's opinions of it are, because even though it might seem insignificant or unimportant to someone whose prom was a little while ago, it really is the pinnacle of high school for a lot of kids, and they've reached out to me very worried about what people are thinking about it. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you all for listening tonight.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Cochran, if you can make a note on the prom to have your high school administration get to work on maybe some contingency or a plan for that, that would be wonderful. My school was so small that we didn't have a prom. We had a dinner dance, and we raised all this, I hate to go off, raised all this money. We had steak and lobster, and none of the kids had ever had lobster before, so most of it went back to the kitchen, and they thought there was something wrong with the lobster. So that's my high school prom, so to speak. All right, moving on, delegates and individuals. We have 3 tonight, Ms. Hester, Ms. Scanlon, and then Ms. Hampy, correct? If somebody could, Ken could, or Dean, who's ever, I see Mrs. Scanlon is up. If you could go ahead, just state your name and the town you're from, please.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Scanlon from 19 Winesap Drive in Danville. I've spoken before at the last public hearing, so I'm just following up from that with a few more questions and input. So I'll just read my statement tonight. As most of you know, I've been speaking up in favour of keeping the FLES foreign language in elementary school programme in our school district. I feel very strongly that by standing by your recent vote to cut the programme, you are throwing away great opportunities for our current FLES students and their future potential in the world. Have any of your children had an opportunity to experience the FLES programme? When I was asked last week at the public hearing about data that showed any correlation, when I asked last week at the public hearing about data that showed any correlation between the FLES program being introduced and any changes in state assessments of math and English. Dr. Cochran mentioned some slight decline in the math and English scores. In my own opinion, to be able to directly correlate any relationship between the FLES program and changes in the elementary math and English scores, all other variables should remain the same, and I don't think that that could be the case. I know that there have been changes to the types of assessment tests that were being administered. The teaching methods could have changed, the curriculum could have changed, and so much more that could have affected those scores, not just the FLES program. I've asked about what changed in the curriculum when FLES was introduced. I believe Mrs. Lowe's had asked that question. And it's my understanding that the 2 45-minute lesson blocks per week were used for the FLES program were a unified arts block and 1 early literacy block. The FLES program has been proven to enhance students' understanding of their native language, and the elementary age kids are at a developmentally critical time for language development. So still, those 45-minute blocks are still a good use of what would have been a unified arts and literacy time. If the existing school board decision to cut the program remains in effect, what happens to the students that are already learning Spanish in the elementary schools? Are the 3, 4, 5 years of progress that they've already been in the program going to be discarded? How do you propose to transition them into middle school and beyond if the program is stopped this year? I believe the best path of action, if you have to cut this program, would be to complete the current elementary grades through their 5th grade year and not start teaching any more Spanish to the incoming kindergarten grades. At least this way, the time and money already invested in these students could be enhanced and not thrown away. I've collected signatures on a local petition to save the FLES program. I have over 180 Timberlane Regional School District parents and residents who, like me, are advocating for this program to stay in place. I will share the spreadsheet of signatures with you via email tonight, so you have that for the record. In closing, I would urge you to set aside any personal feelings or animus and reconsider keeping this program and the wonderful opportunity it offers our elementary kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hester?
Hello, my name is Billy Hester. I'm from Danville. I would just have a quick statement to read. 6 years of student and teacher effort, millions of dollars, 0 parent and taxpayer input on if or how the FLES program should be terminated. I understand that minds are made up and the vote has been cast. I would like to ask that you, the board, consider instead of an abrupt elimination of the program, that you please consider a phase out for the hundreds of children that have multiple years of study so that their progress is not lost. In addition, on January 11th, I wrote an email to you all asking that you save this program. I'd like to thank the 2 board members that took time to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hampy?
Yes, good evening. Coral Hampy, Danville. Go Danville tonight. TTA president. I see that the reopening is on the agenda this evening. I just have a quick message. I ask that as dates for returning grades are decided, that you please give a reasonable amount of notice. Perhaps 2 weeks would be best. Parents need time to adjust their schedules. Custodians need time to move trailers and trailers full of furniture. And teachers need time to set the rooms according to social distancing, whatever that number may be. We would all appreciate the time to readjust so that we are not running around like chimpanzees as kids are coming in the door. And I just want to add that I agree with perhaps a phase out of the FLES program rather than just a cold turkey cut. That's it for tonight. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is a school reopening update. Board members, in your agenda packet, you'll see that you have a document, and we'll let Mrs. Kanotis answer any questions on this regarding the elementary grades 3 through 5 update. I don't know how deeply we want to get into this for the public. I'm certain that you're transmitting this out electronically once the board takes a look at it. Is that correct? There's quite a bit of information here. I guess we can share this document.
Good evening. Dr. Farah, whatever you would like, we will definitely be communicating with all families, both those in cohorts and those remote on Monday. All letters will go out with information. I can quickly give an overview to what you have in your packet, or we can just provide that in the letters on Monday.
I'm good with, I do see the overview in the packet. Do board members have any questions on that? Barbara?
I just wanted to point out that in this letter, it says the earliest date for going back is February 1st, right?
Correct.
So
And
just-
that was intended that if we moved forward tonight with the recommendation, that we would have a chance to notify parents, have a full week for some grades and 2 weeks for others.
Sheila?
Same question as Barbara, as you just heard the TTA president speak. Is this going to be an issue, this February 1st date now? Because are we going to have enough time to get furniture back in and all of the things that Mrs. Campy mentioned? Because we don't want chaos.
So I'm not sure if Ms. Hampy was referring to elementary or potentially the secondary phase in when that happens. At the elementary level, I can tell you that there is one teacher at Pollard whose class will be moved. I spoke with Mr. Paradis today. Mr. Blay has already planned, has everything ready to move that classroom for the teacher. That is the only classroom that would change. Because we already have furniture in for each class on their cohort. It's just a matter of bringing those kids now in 4 days to those rooms.
Fantastic. That's, like I said, I think more parents are going to be thrilled with a week notice than 2 weeks personally. They want their kids back in. So I appreciate all your efforts and Sandy's efforts and Mark's efforts to get this working and get these kids back in. Thank you.
Just for everybody listening, I know you said you'd send out letters, but I feel like if I was listening at home, I'd be kind of curious, like what exactly are they talking about? Because I don't see it. Can we just do a very quick overview, what we're talking about as far as grades, dates for return, just so anybody listening maybe can.
Sure. So for Atkinson, Danville, and Pollard, we're looking at grades 3 and 4 on February 1st, grades 5 the week after on the 8th. Sandown North has requested to bring all 3, 4, 5 cohort classes back to the building on the same day on the 1st. And that is because the amount of moving groups in open spaces would be pretty disruptive if we waited the week in between. Groups would have to move and then move again. So it makes more sense to bring those students back together.
Could we make sure that this document, I know you're sending things out to the parents, but as soon as possible, get this publicly out, which is the summary document, so that everybody can see this, just so they have some idea what's going on here. I'm sure as soon as it hits the airways, somebody will take it and post it on Facebook or something to spread the word.
I'm sure Mr. Henderson is listening, but we can send it out just that summary that's in your board packet. We can send out school messenger. Yep.
That would be great. Any other questions here on the school reopening update? Hang on one second. I'm trying to juggle my 2 screens to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so we also looked for an update on, oh, sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
So related, I don't know if you're going to get to this later, but of course this is contingent on, having enough teachers who are available. Do we know when the teachers are getting their COVID vaccines?
That's on this, somebody will speak to this as part of the update on the reopening. Dr. Cochran, do you have any information on that?
On the vaccine, that would be a Mark Peterson question. He's actually created a document for us. And Mark, if you could give us a bit of an update as well. I know I was in the dean's office when we were discussing some initial conversations about criteria in terms of bringing more students back. Can you just do that and the vaccination situation as well?
Sure. So as far as bringing students back, and our secondary counseling services and counseling department is looking at different criteria of bringing students back. I'm not really at liberty to kind of describe in detail those criteria, but there are some criteria for bringing back students. You know, they've created some lists. They've looked at how now bringing back you know, X number of students is going to impact the building, and each building is different. You know, each building still has those limiting factors as far as class sizes and how many kids we can put in the rooms, as well as the cafeteria. So each building is looking at a different number of students of bringing them back and different criteria for bringing these students back. But we are working very hard to bring students back, you know, in sort of phases right now. You know, we don't have a good idea right now of exactly how many and who those kids are exactly at this time, but we are looking at bringing those kids back. You know, like I said, the counseling department, both buildings have been working tremendously hard at reaching out to kids, reaching out to families. So, and as far as a vaccine goes, I believe in your packet, I had a quick executive summary in regard to the state rollout plan. I'm seeing if I can pull it up on my computer here.
Yeah, I don't see that in my packet. Does anybody see that? Did I miss it? Could somebody tell me where it
Maybe I
is?
can-
I didn't see it either.
All right, maybe it didn't make it.
I don't think we got it.
Okay, I'll try to find it on mine.
Didn't the governor make an announcement about this today?
Yes.
So basically, I know that the largest teachers union was very upset because the teachers, basically the people over 65 are being prioritized, which is where about 98% of the severe illness and deaths have been. So, you know, you can't, you're not going to be able to get the teachers in as fast as you'd like to. You know,
so
the state's got a lot to do with this, I believe.
This is the state's rollout plan. I don't know if people are able to see my screen here.
Yeah, you can see it.
Right.
Thank you.
So this is the state's rollout plan. You know, phase 1A has already been implemented, if you will. I know our building nurses have all been vaccinated, at least the first vaccine. You know, as you know, or maybe you don't know, the vaccine is actually a 2-stage vaccine right now, both Moderna and Pfizer's. It's a 2-stage vaccine. So I believe all of our building nurses have had that first vaccine. I don't know if anyone has had the second vaccine, but we're sort of in that phase 1A. Phase 1B is starting maybe tomorrow. And I know people are able to start signing up for that. Our staff is actually in phase 2A. So when you look at phase 2A, which the state is predicting is going to start rolling out in March, it's K through 12 school and childcare staff. You know, some of our staff might have gotten vaccinated in phase 1B if they're 65 years or older, if they're medically vulnerable, a significant higher risk with 2 or more conditions, if they are family caregivers of those medically vulnerable people. So there is a chance that some of our staff would have gotten vaccinated in phase 1B. You know, we're hoping that, you know, if people elect to get vaccinated, and in phase 2A, you know, staff members are electing to get vaccinated. So then therefore, you know, they are protected against this virus. You know, and then as you can see, you know, by the time 3B rolls around in May and beyond, hopefully everyone else in the state gets vaccinated at that point. You know, this is dependent upon, you know, lots of things. Timberlane doesn't really control any of this. But, you know, this is definitely dependent upon, you know, those drug companies, the federal government and the state government and state and local governments to sort of roll out this plan.
Okay, thank you. The HVAC update we'll do under the administrator's report. Jen?
Yeah, just a quick question on that, Mark. So we know the kids won't be able to get vaccinated. So even if we did have the teachers vaccinated sooner rather than later, does that, would that be helpful as far as bringing students back into the buildings?
I would think yes. I mean, we have to look at all aspects of this. The more people that we get vaccinated, not just in our building, but in the community, is definitely going to help. I know that as far as students getting vaccinated right now, the Pfizer and the Moderna hasn't been tested on anyone under 16. So that's why they're not recommending it right now for kids under 16. But I believe they're in trials for that. And Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is in trials for kids younger than 16, I believe. The more people that get vaccinated, it's definitely going to help, have that opportunity to now get more kids into the building. The safer we are as a community, the more likely we are going to be able to get all the kids back in as most of a normal aspect as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, this is Sean. One of the things that's been circulating on, even I've had one person ask me relative to Timberlane, but it was more of even just in general business, is that some talk of companies requiring the vaccination. And I think I would actually recommend that this board actually takes a position on not forcing our employees to adhere. It's a personal choice, and we want to honor that.
That is a legal question that I think we would have to pose. I would not take a position on saying that it's an optional vaccine unless we have more information pertaining to that or the legality, either way. I think it's something we should be looking at. I did ask Dr. Cochran if it is something that could be mandated. I know there are institutions in Massachusetts that mandate flu vaccines now. So I think it's something, Sean, it's a point well taken. I think we need to look at that as we move on the next 6 to 9 months. It's probably not going to be an issue until the start of the next school year, I would think. At the rate the vaccines are getting rolled out right now, it's not going to be, I don't know. It's something that we're going to have to confer with legal on. I don't know if there's any point in the board taking a position until we know if we can even, if it's an issue.
Well, let's just say, for example, if you have a staff member that has able to, if we were in limbo land, because we might require, we might not, and they might decide to pursue another district that doesn't mandate it. I mean, that's a very fair reality. So I think it's better for us to let the public and our staff know where our position is as a board and as a district moving forward.
I agree with Kim. I'm not gonna make a motion or vote on, I'll abstain from this until legal's been contacted. I won't touch this with the 10-foot pole right now.
You don't have to. We're a couple months away from it anyway.
Yeah.
It's Sean, it's a point well taken. We'll contact legal and see. I'd hate to take a position saying no and then get ourselves in trouble that way too, so.
Well, a position to say that we allow our employees to make their own personal decisions relative to their own health.
So are you saying we don't require employees to have any vaccines at all, or students?
Show me a policy that we do.
Could some of the administrators help me out here? Do we require students to have vaccines?
Not students.
To go to school? No. Oh.
As a requirement. That's you're
Well,
bringing up another
Sean,
element. I would agree.
That's another element. Are you going to require students or staff? I mean, it's both. It could be an or an and.
Both. But I think that the community, we should start having these discussions sooner rather than later. That's my point too.
I don't disagree. We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting after we get some more feedback.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's going to largely be dependent on, what the state is dictating as well. I mean, it might not even be something weigh in on or not.
We'll try to get more information and have a discussion at the next meeting on the board's position. Mr. Pedersen, thank you for the updates, the nice graphics on the COVID numbers. Does anybody have any comments, questions on those? If not, I'd like to take action on the district clerk, and then I'm going to reorganize the agenda because Jen needs to leave at a certain point in time, and I want to make sure policies get taken care of. So the next item on the agenda is the district clerk. It's an action item. We have one candidate. We need to take action. Mrs. Boyle, yes, wife of our esteemed board member, Mr. Boyle, has applied for the position of district clerk, and we're very thankful for that. I'd like to seek a motion to appoint Mrs. Boyle as district clerk.
I'll make that. I'll second.
Sheila makes the motion, I guess, and Sean moves. Thank you for stepping up for that position. Kat, can you take the vote, roll call on this, please?
Mr. Boyle,
Saying,
Mr. Doobie,
Lee? It's okay, Kat, move on, just,
Dr. Farah,
yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes, and thank you, Mrs. Boyle.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
We still have no Mrs. Muckmer or Mrs. Savage.
Okay.
I
Lee?
am a yes. I
Okay,
could not
so
get my mute to come off. Fine.
That's, yeah, I
Thank
thought
you.
we'd get you on the go round. Okay. All right, so moving on to, we have policies for first read. BGE, well, Jen, I'll let you take this over. Do you have these up or do you want me to read them
I'm
all?
pulling it up right now. Sorry, I gotta scroll down. CBB, that was a policy, just adjusting the wording to reflect that we are going to be no longer a joint SAU. I think, did we already discuss this one? Is this first read?
This is a first read on CBB.
Okay,
So,
I'm just,
yeah.
must have been a conversation at policy committee. Sorry. This language seemed to make more sense and more consistent with what other districts that are a single district SAU are doing, that the board will appoint the superintendent.
Yep.
CBI, superintendent evaluation and goal setting. Policy committee talked about this tonight. This was an SAU policy, I believe, that we're looking to pull over for
Yep.
Timberlane, or maybe it was already within Timberlane. All of this language, nothing has changed in all of those years since it was last looked at. That's still the same language recommended by New Hampshire School Board Association. And that is the policy that we would be looking to have in place before we adopt our preferred evaluation tool.
Okay.
Sorry, scrolling down. There's a lot to scroll through.
So the board is looking to, once the procedure is CBIR, and we discussed that last time, so you have the evaluation tool that we want to use moving forward.
Board review of administrative regulations, that's the same exact policy as CHB. And CHB, the one change in there was, the word regulations was a little, it said regulations in one spot, but then in the actual language of the policy, it seemed to be reflecting procedures. So I did contact New Hampshire School Board Association just to clarify if we can kind of put both those words in there to be so that the title reflects the actual language of the policy. They said that sounded fine. So it's regulations and procedures. BGE. No real changes there, just adding that language in red. BHC, there was no change to that. Board employee communications. New board member orientation, that also hasn't changed in decades, it looks like, but didn't really seem to need any updates. BHE, the updates there were just more reflective of technology today and how boards use it. And I think that's it. Oh. And then we have DKDR back with us. Did we already do DKDR?
They're included as FYI only.
Oh, okay.
The second read on those is scheduled for February 18th.
But those are just procedures though.
Right.
We're doing second read on procedures?
No, I'm sorry. The second read is for these other policies is the 18th.
Okay.
Not those. The DKDR and BDDR are just informational.
Okay, so if we could just plan to look at that procedure for the superintendent evaluation at the same time we do second read?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yep. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve. Hang on, I gotta find all these letters.
I got it.
I know we've been getting through a lot. I think we got through 6 more tonight.
Okay, go ahead, Sheila. You can read them
Motion
off.
to approve for first read, CBB, CBI, CBI-R, BGD, CHB, BGE, BHC, and BIA.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I would just say CBIR doesn't really need to be there. That's a procedure.
Right.
Do you want me to redo it, Kim?
Kat, can you just strike that? We'll just undo the motion and redo the motion. We'll strike the CBIR.
And then I do need to go back to one thing. Sorry, I'm just looking at the notes on that. As I was scrolling through, I didn't see it, but go ahead on that.
You're all set with it? Okay.
Do you want me to re-motion it, Kim?
No, hang on though. I'm just.
No, that bunch is fine, Kim.
Okay. All right. No, you don't need to re-motion that, Sheila. That's fine. Kat, can you take the roll call? We'll keep the motion as it was. It's fine to put the procedure in there.
Okay.
I don't think it hurts.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Okay, Jen, there was something else that you needed?
Yep. Oh, sorry, BHE, I forgot until I looked back at the notes. When I was scrolling down, I thought I was at the end there. But then as you scroll down more, you see New Hampshire School Board Association sample language. And this was one, Lee, please help me out. The policy.
Which one, Jen?
BHE. That was the one on
page 24 of the packet.
The use of electronic communication. That was the one that policy committee, we had said, send forward the policy that we have with that red line through it. But then the New Hampshire School Board Association had their recommended language, which had a lot more to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to it, Jen. Sorry.
That's okay.
So I don't really understand what their language, when adopting of the same, a district should not include the history or policy notes appearing below. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is their model language. So what do you want to discuss about? So this sample policy BHE starts on page 22 of this packet of policies. What do you want to discuss here, Jen? before, it looks like you need to put language in here.
Well, do we have starter language on any of the other policies? Is this a new one or an adapted one?
This is not a new policy. This is a policy that was adopted in 2018. It was last revised in, it was adopted in 2008, revised in 2016. The New Hampshire School Board Association language refers to chat, messaging, texting, social network, two-way. It just is far more inclusive of technology today.
Yeah, and then there was discussion at the policy committee about the previous policy, our current BHE, doesn't really incorporate the way that meetings are being conducted today.
I mean, personally, I think looking at this, I would scrap our current policy because it is very light in some sense. When I compare it to the New Hampshire model that starts here on the middle of page 22, and I would start our policy, I would have our policy conform to the recommendation of the New Hampshire School Board Association and bring that to the board for a discussion. Because this actually, it's kind of interesting. It even calls out social media, that board members have to make sure you don't have a quorum of comments on a post or thread in social media, because that constitutes quorum, which I think is a little. Jen, what's your thought, and Lee, on taking this policy, sample policy, and working it from there rather than modifying our own, because our own does not look like it's adequate giving electronic communications right now?
My original thought when we met at, not tonight, but the meeting before, was yes, I thought New Hampshire School Board Association language was definitely more reflective of today's technology, and in how we should be using it and not using it. Policy committee that, felt like this was an important one to bring back to the board because it's really speaking to board members and how they conduct themselves and how they use electronic communication. So they really wanted input from the board. So Lee and I said, we'll just put both of them in the packet, for a discussion.
Okay, so this is the discussion then. My feeling is that we take our current policy, almost scrap it, and put in their policy. And if you could bring that back to the board for first reading, that would be great. So okay. I kind of like this because it actually is a little bit, in some sense, more lenient than what you have now. For instance, it's saying, if I send all of you out a request for agenda items,
yep,
that is not really prohibited by the right to know law, even though I'm sending it to a quorum of the board.
Right.
If I send a reminder for a meeting, but right now under the current policy, everything like that is permitted, or not permitted. So if you can take that back to policy, Jen and Lee, and just come back with a new policy that will probably be, in essence, this one, unless you think there's some things that don't pertain to our board, that would be good.
Okay, yeah.
Did we vote on the other one, Kat, or did we get?
Was BHE on the list?
No, BHE was not included in that last motion.
No, it wasn't included in the list, so we're good. So I think we're done with policies now, Jen?
Yeah, that's why I was saying that other motion was fine. I just wanted to revisit that BHE because I forgot that policy committee had asked for some feedback, and I wanted to just have that discussion with the board because it is a policy really about the board.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. All right, so moving back into the agenda, district clerk, default budget. In your package, you have a revised default budget. I don't know where it is. Here it is. This default budget is reflective, as per RSA, of the proposed budget as proposed by the Budget Committee. We did have discussion with council about this. Even though council, in essence, does not agree with how the proposed budget was put together because it did not take into consideration the recommendations of the school board with respect to staffing, we do have to base the default budget off that proposed budget. So you'll see that this dollar amount now for the default budget is going to be 74,973,634. We need to vote this number tonight so that it can be included in the finalized warrant. That will be posted, I don't remember the date. I think by the 22nd, it has to be posted. Probably says right on my sheet. By the 25th. Are there any questions? You can see the summary here of what the increases are. There's some reduction in force. These are the reductions that the Budget Committee put into the proposed budget, that they're not reflective of all the budgets that the school board approved at their meeting. So I would like to seek a motion to put forward a default budget of.
Some discussion on this
Go ahead, Sean.
Is that a true statement that we're saving $255,000 with the combined SAU? Basically from the withdrawal.
Based on the business office's projections, using what they approximate the salaries are going to be in the staffing in the new SAU, yes, it looks like we're saving $250,000 approximately in year one from the withdrawal.
So that would be basically now the administration now confirming the fodder that has been around for the whole year, that this was actually going to cost us more than what it was previously, so that the no on withdrawal folks were wrong. There is a savings, and we're showing it now, and the administration is showing it now. So, okay, I just wanted to make that point.
And so, Sean, I'll just point out as well that this is just the expenditure side, and there is a loss on the revenue side as well.
Mr. Dowd, approximately what's the loss on the revenue side?
I would say about the same, in that neighborhood, about 250.
What income does the SAU get except for Hampstead's infusion and Timberlane's infusion of funds?
What income does Timberlane get? Timberlane receive?
What is the input that you're talking, the income stream at the SAU level that you're referencing that we are losing?
Rental, and you're losing rent on the building, and you're losing reimbursement from a number of things that SAU reimburses for a lot of your systems work, hardware, software, a lot of utilities that are subsidized by SAU to Timberlane directly.
But Timberlane pays 77% of the SAU budget.
I'm simply pointing out that there is if the expenses are reduced on the SAU side, there is a revenue reduction on the revenue side as well. That's all.
But you're trying to say that the revenue reduction is 250,000? That offsets?
It's pretty close to that, yeah. But again, how much of that is Timberlane paying itself? To your point, Kim.
Right? Correct. So you're saying that there's 250,000 revenue loss, but of that portion, Timberlane is paying probably 77% back to itself, right?
Right. It gets into a very
So it's a classic example of your left hand paying your right hand and then put it in your other pocket.
Okay, so
I simply point out.
Let's put it this way. Let's do it a different way then. Based on what you just said, based on what the revenue loss is versus what the SAU withdrawal savings are, we can change that number to 200,000 a year, 200,000, because Timberlane of the SAU revenue that's lost, there's only 57,000 really. Hampstead was, anyway, there's at minimum $200,000 saved by the SAU withdrawal, even if I take account the revenue loss.
Sure.
Let's not.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair statement?
I simply point out to you that there is on the expenditure side and on the revenue side, and I think that the 255, as it appears on that schedule, would be that's a listing of expenditures. You'd want to That would stay the way that it is at 255, right?
Okay,
But the net is we're losing Hampstead's 23% that
Right.
they're contributing.
okay. So we still looking to entertain a motion on the default budget to move this forward. Somebody help me out here. Sheila, you're muted. Are you helping me? You're muted.
I'll make a motion to the revised amount of the default budget. That's what we want, the revised monthly default budget.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
The revised amount of default budget, am I reading this right? Is 74,973,634?
Correct.
correct. Second,
Any further discussion?
Yes, Kim, what is that? Is that this is an increase over our current default budget that we already previously approved, correct?
Correct.
And what amount is that increased over?
That amount is increased by approximately, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's around $600,000, isn't
Yeah,
it, Maria?
it was 74,267,397. So about 230,000, something like that. About
No, it's about
Right.
600,000.
630,000, looks like, about that.
I was pretty close.
Yeah.
630,000.
Yeah, something like that.
One is I still am going to say I'm going to be voting no on this, and the reason is that I do not believe in our current legal counsel's opinion relative to whose budget do you use. This was the first incarnation that I've ever understood that the default budget, which by statute is done by the governing body, is based off of a budget committee's recommendations, that their final output of their product that would go to the deliberative and public hearing. I take that, and I also use the data point of, I do not believe that the discipline law that is being explored is not the focal point of this current council. And therefore I've seen the track record of this individual in court defending us previously and was manhandled by a layperson in district court relative to this this type of matter. So I'm going to be voting no on this.
Okay,
I have a question.
Barbara?
So what happens if we do vote no on this? Then what happens?
Then we have already voted a number for the default budget. If this motion does not pass, that current number stays on. But if somebody chooses to sue us because they don't agree with the default number, as they are wont to do every year, they could take us to court over it. But alternatively, if you went with Sean's idea that he disagrees with how this number is calculated, we could get taken to court in the other direction. So it's a win-win for us.
Exactly. And by the way, it's just over 700,000, so my math was wrong.
Sorry.
So this is $700,000 less
Higher.
than we
Higher.
recommended.
It's higher than our previously approved number,
Okay.
because the school board has made $2 million in staffing cuts, but the budget committee has not. So what's happening is when you construct the default budget has to reflect the staffing as it stands in the proposed budget. Now, what's unusual, and the attorney said this at the public hearing, is that typically the budget committee takes their lead from the governing body in terms of staffing. You don't usually see a budget committee putting funding positions that aren't there.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the motion. Kat, please.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
For the taxpayers, no.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
No.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Yeah, could you tell me what the vote is on that, the count?
5 yeses and 2 nos.
Okay, thank you. So that motion passes. That's the number that will appear on the warrant. Could we make sure that Mrs. Belcher gets that for the warrant? Okay, the warrant. We need to finalize the warrant for the deliberative session. Hang on, I'm looking for that document now.
Top of the page, Kim.
Page.
Page 31.
Okay. I don't have a combined agenda packet. I have different documents. So we've just readdressed article number 2 so that default budget was 74,267,397. That number is now changed. Board members, in your packet, articles 3, 4, and 5, these collective bargaining agreements, you will find in your packet that there are insurance cost increases noted for these two bargaining units have an increase in insurance costs and one has a decrease. This wasn't calculated in the numbers for the warrant. Because the public hearing has already taken place on those numbers, what we're going to need to do is at deliberative session, make a motion to increase the estimated fiscal year numbers for warrants 5, 6, and 7, or hold on, Article 3, Article 5, and Article 7 will have to be adjusted, the cost to the voters. So as part of the collective bargaining agreement, there were changes in insurance benefits that were offered to employees. As a result, we are going to have to make changes in the number on the warrant, but we can't do that now because if we did it tonight, we'd have to have another public hearing. We can do it on the floor at deliberative. So I just wanted board members to be aware of that. Those numbers are in your packets. So at deliberative, I'll be looking for a motion to change the numbers on those 3 warrants to reflect the cost of the taxpayers. Any discussion on that?
Just, I don't see where the new numbers are, but just by how much did they increase? Like less than 1%?
So for the administrative assistants.
I think it's in your packet, Barbara.
It is.
Okay, I'll look.
That the increase for the administrative assistance unit is a $25,000 increase due to insurance. The custodians unit, there's a decrease of $63.54. In the food service, there's an increase of $28,789.
Did you find it, Barbara?
No, my agenda packet only has like 4 pages, so I don't know where else I'm looking other
No,
than.
you've got to go into the actual, the big list
The big
of
long
documents.
list.
It's called
Backup
CBA
one.
cost increases, Barbara.
Oh, okay.
It's got one of the green exclamation points next to it.
There's
It's
a lot
6
of
from the
those.
top.
I see it. Okay, thanks.
I'll give you a second to look at it. If you have a, we're not taking
There we
action
go.
on it.
I've got it now. Okay.
We're not taking action, just wanted to let people know. I don't think there's anything else that we need to do for the deliberative session. Oh, this is the warrant. So we need to finalize the warrant for, hold on. I think we need to vote.
Don't we need to vote to recommend?
Yes, we need to vote these articles to recommend or not recommend. Could somebody please put the warrant on the monitor, please? Share the
Oh, we
screen.
don't have our, can we redo the vote after deliberative?
Yes.
So
Yes,
that it reflects the full board?
Yes.
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 Okay, I just feel bad not everybody's here tonight, so.
Yeah,
We always have that meeting, remember, Jen, in the library afterwards to go over them?
Yeah.
Many of them been lengthy because of language.
okay, so Brian Boyle, Budget Committee has already gone through these, haven't they?
Yes.
Okay. So Sean, help me out here. What am I looking for Article 2? What? Am I looking for the board to
Recommend or not recommend?
recommend or not? Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
recommend
drawing a
or not
blank.
recommend.
Recommend or not, sorry, just drawing a blank, been on the computer too long. Okay, so Article 2, these numbers stand to approve a budget of 74,318,918. If if it's defeated, the operating budget shall be 74,267,397. Those are the numbers as they stand now. At deliberative, the packet, we just approved 74,9.
Yes.
Right.
So just be aware that that number is going to change. But right now we're approving this particular warrant. So
It's kind of a weird.
I guess I'll. Sean, do we make a motion here, or am I just looking who?
Yes.
Yeah, just, I mean, it's the article as written, and then you're just asking the board to, your recommendation. What is it?
Okay.
74.3 and 74.9 for the default.
Okay, so I'm asking, so we'll do a roll call, all in favor. Is there any discussion? I can't see everybody, so if you have a comment.
I have a comment. So are we voting whether we're in favor based on that 74.3 number, or are we gonna just go on what we just motioned?
You're
You
voting
have
on
to
the
go
side.
on what's in front of you. It's a 74.
What's in front of you?
Can I tell you what Kathy told me?
Go ahead.
The motions have to be in the affirmative.
Yes.
I need
Right.
who motions, who seconds, and a yes, no, or abstain on each and every one of you.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion to recommend Article 2.
I'll make the motion to recommend Article 2 of the operating budget.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Kat, can you take a roll call?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kichka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
No. Well, wait a minute. Well, I'm sorry.
I'm saying yes until after the deliberative. I don't agree with it, but I'm saying yes till after the deliberative because I'm holding out hope.
It's very straightforward. It's only two numbers that you're looking at, 74.
One of them I know
318.
is not right.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Vote,
matter.
vote.
That's not
You're
what you're
voting
voting
on
on.
this warrant.
That's not what you're voting on. You're voting on the
Voting
whole
on
purpose of
the
this.
operating budget.
That's what you're voting on, the
Yes.
operating budget.
I'm voting yes, Kat.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next article. Article 3.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 3.
Second.
Jen seconds. Any discussion? Oh, this is gonna take forever. Kat, go ahead.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kichka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving
I
on to
make a-
Article.
Go
What?
ahead. Go ahead.
Moving on to Article 4. I'd love to do a couple of these together, but I don't want to get sued.
I make a motion to accept Article 4, to recommend Article 4.
I'll second.
Okay. Kat, you know the drill.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kichka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
I make a motion to recommend Article 5.
Second.
Second.
You get 2 seconds.
Jen got it first.
Help me out here, Kim.
Go ahead, Kat.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
I make a motion to recommend Article 6.
Second.
Okay, Kat.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
I make a motion to recommend Article 7.
Second.
10 seconds.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
I make a motion to recommend Article 8.
Is there a second?
I second.
Barbara seconds. Barbara seconds.
Ben was asleep.
Sorry.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
I make a motion to recommend Article 9.
Second.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
I make a motion to recommend Article 10.
Second.
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva,
Yes.
Down and dirty.
Okay, thank you. All right, board members, we will probably, Mr. Dowd, I assume we're going to be getting an electronic document of this to sign once it's been updated.
That's correct, as well as the MSDSB to sign separately. So there'll be two different documents to be on the lookout for.
Okay, thank you. Make sure we get those signed. We need the board to get those signed so they can be posted for the warrant.
Thank you. Thank you for completing the votes tonight.
The MSDS will be updated from the one that was disclosed at the public hearing to reflect these changes that we made tonight on the default budget.
That's correct. Yep.
The next item on the agenda is the deliberative session. And I'll let Mr. Dowd, I'm going to walk everybody through it really quickly. It will be held in the gymnasium. What we're planning to do is have only 4 people up on the podium or at the top. There'll be the moderator, there'll be the chair of the budget committee, chair of the school board, unless somebody wants to take my place, Dr. Cochran, and Jim O'Shaughnessy. The rest of the boards will be down on the floor, appropriately spaced. They have calculated out how many people can fit in the gymnasium. They'll pull the bleachers out. There'll be 6 feet spacing. Masks are required once you enter the building. They will have the ballot clerks there to check in people as they normally would. If you're from a family member unit, you can sit together in the bleachers, like in that unit, since you're already, a family unit. We are non-voting members will not be allowed in the gymnasium due to the fact that we're concerned about the number of people that are going to be in the gymnasium. It's strongly encouraged that people that are not voting members not attend. If you are not voting member and you attend, you will be, or is it the PAC that we're going to have the non-voting members watch?
No, we're anticipating a couple of classrooms in the high school will be set up for non-voting folks.
Non-voting folks, okay. And the moderator will have deputy moderators or assistants should there be too many voting members to all be in the gymnasium. But based on our attendance in the past several years, we don't anticipate that's going to be a problem. The school board, I know there are members of the board that have concerns or health issues that may preclude them from coming to the deliberative session. My plan was to hold the public meeting of the board to finalize the warrant a half an hour after the end of the deliberative session, which would give people time to get home And then we would start a public meeting on Zoom, so the board could do what we just did 5 minutes ago and revote the warrants. Any agenda items that, any numbers on the warrant that we want to revote. So that's my 15-minute information.
Going to be
Barbara?
enough, I mean, because on the way out, people usually stop and say hi. Well, even social distance. But
Well, the alternative would be to do it, say, Friday night. I mean,
What about actually, scheduling the time and then that you can have a continuance. If the meeting runs later than that, then you can turn around and have it at that time. I think just saying that it's a half hour after something, I don't know if that meets any kind of a legal requirement for posting as well.
okay, well, why don't we say, whatever time I say, I'm probably jinxing myself. I don't know, 9 o'clock, 9:30. What do you guys think?
I mean, we could have, the meeting start at 9, with it just basically saying it's, delayed. But I think you have to have a physical time.
Right. Okay.
And then, we can show up later than that. I mean, we could
Okay.
start earlier, of course, because then it wouldn't.
Right. Well, that's so. Kat, could you request that Mrs. Belcher post the regular, a meeting of the school board for 9:00 p.m. on the night of deliberative, which
Via
is
Zoom.
February 4th. It will be a special meeting of the board at 9:00, February 4th on Zoom. That way, members of the board who can't attend deliberative will still be able to weigh in on the warrant for the final vote. Okay. Any other questions about deliberative? Mr. Dowd, did you have more to add?
It was a perfect recitation. I will just remind, as you had mentioned, the chairs on the floor will be socially distanced at 6 feet. So we'll ask that those chairs do not move. If you are able to be closer to someone because of proximity of family, automatically the bleachers will be available for that purpose. And just as a reminder, school board members and budget committee members will be toward the front of the room, not on stage, which you had mentioned, but they will be together, socially distanced at the front of the room as well.
Cool.
So that is all. Well done though, Kim. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Everybody all set on that? Okay. SAU benefit sheet. Could somebody put that up on the screen, please? We discussed this last time. There seemed to be 2 points of contention with board members. We do need to move this forward. We do have new personnel coming in for the SAU. We'll have a nomination later tonight. The 2, can somebody share the screen there? Somebody doing Jeff or?
Maria, somebody.
Here it goes. Thank you. The 2 points of contention here were number 2, which is the medical insurance. So let's look at this first. I am not opposed to leaving this. I understand that other bargaining units, that this is a lower amount. This pertains only to the top 5 employees at the SAU. I think the administrators currently, I think, have 2,500. I think it would be reasonable at the top level to have a maximum of 3,000. So I'll open the floor for discussion. I'm not going to let the discussion go on too long, but I feel that a $3,000 opt-out for employees at this level would not be unreasonable.
I agree. I mean, when you know how much these plans cost for family memberships, it's 3,000 is very sane. Like, you can make an argument that 5,000 is sane as well.
I'm actually coming to terms with 5,000 being okay. I mean, you want to have good benefits.
Okay.
Right. The salaries here, if you're looking at somebody at this level, are not extraordinary. So I'd just as soon entertain some sort of motion on this so I can finalize this benefit sheet.
What is it currently, though? I think it was $500.
Right now,
No, hang on. In the benefit sheet for the administrators for the SAU previously, it was up to 30% of the insurance. So, no, actually, I think it was more than that. I'd have to go back. Sorry. Does somebody have the old?
Well, either way, I guess while you're looking at that, but I can tell you, I will be the minority here. I still don't follow the logic here that I understand the math, but you have now up to 6 bargaining other units that range from as low as $250 up to I don't know, 2,500. So I don't follow the logic how people who make less get less. I don't quite understand that. So if you're going to carry that logic and say, wow, you're going to save a ton of money. Well, I guess when you sit down with the teachers, yeah, I guess you're going to offer them that too and see if you're going to save $1 million.
Well, when you look at the salaries of, say, what somebody at Dr. Cochran's level could perhaps be earning at outside the public sector, then I think it's a fair benefit, because the wages that we offer even to the top administrators don't come close to comparing to, say, somebody who's working as, I don't know, a CFO for a large company.
Different jobs. You can make that statement about anyone, Kim. That's a different job.
Yeah, you can definitely do that, but
you know, you can sit back and they say that someone got $1 million, they were CEO, and then they get canned the next morning. So
well, true.
They don't get pensions and whatever. I've never followed that logic. You know, I've always maintained you compare people for what they do for a living with other people, what they, the same thing. We're in the public education business, so we should be comparing ourselves to other public educators in New Hampshire. That's all. That's my
okay. So we had 2 weeks to look at this. Has anybody taken the time to go and look at other SAUs to see what their benefits are?
I have not.
I have not. I'm just looking at several other documents we've been looking at for the last 3 years. Me personally.
Sheila?
Don't shoot the messenger, Brian. I'm agreeing with the 3,000. Only because we are looking at other bargaining units, and one step down in our administrators are at 2,500. So I think 5,000 is a little nuts. I think 30% is absolutely insane. But I think 3,000, because it's a little bit higher than the administrators, is fair. That's just my take on it.
Jen?
And I think I spoke to this before. I think the $3,000 to $5,000 range is probably where I would say I would like to see this, because we do know how costly these packages are for us to be providing to our employees. You know, so $350 does not incentivize anybody to say, I'll forego this benefit package. You know, but the $3,000 to $5,000 might be enough, you know, to provide that incentive, and then have us realize a savings by them hopping on, you know, maybe their spouse's plan or something.
Okay, so Brian is in disagreement with the 3,000. How is everybody else? Is there anybody else in disagreement with the 3,000? I don't really want to have a vote on that. I just want to vote on the sheet itself. Okay, Mr. Dow, can you share that screen again, please?
Yeah.
Moving down to, I think, the next item that the board members.
What about number 3, Kim?
What about it? What do you not agree with on that?
The whole thing.
I thought we were talking about the before Medicaid eligibility. That went up to 3,300. I thought that was at 1,675. Am I crazy?
No, I've already, this is what I put together, and I've already removed 1,650 in the old benefit sheets that you guys had in your packets last time.
Right.
Previously, there was a retirement, this Medicare eligibility is until the person gets to 65 or whatever that age is. The previous benefit sheet had 1,650 as a supplemental, even when you were at Medicare age. So we have
I see
employees
what you're
now
saying.
that
Yeah.
have retired, and this is part of our long-term liability in the SAU, that we have to continue supplementing their insurance until they are deceased.
Right, lifetime.
This is
Okay.
not, that has been removed from this benefit sheet.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe, can you help me out? What am I missing here? So this is only a temporary thing?
Yes.
Right.
So
This
you
brings
get
them-
to,
If they,
you
Brian, if
get
they
to
retire
Medicare.
at age 55, then this will bring them through age 65, at which point in time they will qualify for Medicare.
Okay,
So instead of it being lifetime, it's
okay,
for a fixed time.
okay, I'm good.
Right. So that's been removed. If you can keep scrolling down the page, I don't think there were any other changes here. Holidays, sick time, retirement leave.
And here we are at 18.
18.
I want it gone, period.
Okay. This is, again, we're looking at the top 5 administrators.
Yeah,
This only kicks in for an administrator that has 11 years of service in the SAU.
mhm.
Now, this is only for the benefits for the top 5 administrators.
And we've found there's no other place in the state, right?
It's still, I'll counter with the chances of a superintendent, and maybe Dr. Cochran can weigh in on this, having 11 years of service in an SAU.
Then we shouldn't have to worry about it then. Take it out.
I understand that you don't worry about it, but people still look at it as some kind of, it's an incentive, even though the chances it's going to be used are not very high.
And this is, I'm sorry, Kim, I know you probably just said this 500 times and I don't know why I'm just now drawing a blank on it again. Only because it says, or districts that compromise the SAU. So this only qualifies for the people that the board hires? Or all SAU employees?
This is just the top.
This is just the top 5 administrators.
What's the title of this again? I'm sorry.
This is the SAU 106 administrator benefit sheet. This is the benefit sheet for the new SAU.
Okay.
We already have one
Administrators.
SAU employee, 6. We are starting to add more tonight. Later on, we're going to be looking to add the lead accountant. So this benefit sheet, as we revise it, will go as part of that contract for these top 5 administrators in the SAU. And we're also going to talk about the superintendent search. We're trying to get this in place so that when we
So the top 5 administrators, so the administrators that are covered under this would be the superintendent, assistant superintendent, business administrator,
HR.
and the lead accountant.
Okay.
And the
Which will
idea
all
is
be-
to save us money in the long run, because if somebody's getting up there in longevity, their salary's supposedly getting up there. And if we give them an incentive, then we'll hire somebody that doesn't cost as much.
That's
Correct.
It hasn't worked that way. It's worked out, Barbara, the opposite. They walked out with big bonuses.
Has it worked that way at the SAU level, Brian?
Oh, I don't know. It just worked that way at the Timberlane Regional School District for the last apparently 5 to 10 years.
I understand that it's worked that way at the district level, but
Yep.
my question is, has it worked that way at the SAU level?
Don't know, but I'll say
Well-
it's worth repeating. We're fighting very hard to get rid of this benefit. It's got a very district-wide 7-figure impact over the years. It's a huge number.
Speaks the truth on that one.
Unfunded liability. And for us to consider going into it is outrageous.
Okay, so Jeff, could you stop sharing the screen so I can see people?
Just let me know. I know that's a problem. It's a little
All
issue.
right,
So.
thanks. It's just hard. Okay, so I think everybody understands what that benefit is. I think people have their opinion on it, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Don't we have,
Sheila?
I'm sorry, don't we have something in the packet
For what?
that gave people an idea what this cost us?
Not for the SAU.
Not for the SAU, but for the, no, never mind. I'm sorry. I'm thinking something else. Forget it. Sorry.
Okay. No, we don't have what this costs.
I do agree with Brian. I'd like to actually have the 18 striking out.
All right, I would like a vote on this.
Can I just ask one question about it real quick?
Hi, Jen.
And admittedly, I didn't call around other districts. Is this something that's typical, non-typical?
Again, this is an SAU packet. This is not a Timberlane. This is the SAU. Dr. Cochran, have you seen this sort of benefit at the, again, not at the school level, at the SAU level in any of the other districts you've seen?
In New Hampshire Public Schools.
You're muted.
You're muted.
This is relatively similar to the sort of benefits package for top administrators in probably the top 25% of the state. There's a lot of variability. I mean, we're the 10th largest school district in the state. It would be competitive with that. If we wouldn't matter what we would put on it, Bedford will pay higher because that's literally their policy. But I would think that what's there would be certainly incentive enough that you should not be losing potential candidates. If you reduce that somewhat, would it decrease the talent pool? I would suspect not much. You would still have a good talent pool.
Okay. All right. So let's do this because I don't want to have to do two motions. What I would like to do is I'm seeking a motion to approve the SAU 106 administrator benefit sheet that would pertain to, I'll slow down, Kat, the superintendent, assistant superintendent, CFO, HR, and lead accountant. With the following changes, that the maximum insurance buyout is $3,000 and that the retirement incentive is deleted. And I'm making the motion this way just so we can vote. So, sorry, my dog is having a dream. So everybody seemed to be okay with the $3,000 buyout.
Yes.
Do you want it as two separate motions? I'm just trying to put it all as one.
No, I just want to throw one more thing out there. And I know I'm going to drive you insane, but can I just throw something out there?
Too late.
Go. All right.
Brian, can we come to a compromise and just put a figure in there?
Which Brian?
No, because I know which Brian you're talking about.
Boyle.
Yeah. I personally would like to see verification that there is any other school district that offers a retirement bonus. So someone's walking out the door, getting a pension in six figures, is walking out getting another $50,000 to $100,000. I'd like to see that.
Again, we're not talking school districts.
You are talking school districts, whether you're a superintendent assistant. I am talking New Hampshire Public School District.
All right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But Brian Cochran just said that there are districts that offer this.
Like to see.
I'm not sure about that specific benefit, but what I'm saying is a whole package. There are
There you go.
Okay.
That's what I think.
All I wanted to do was maybe throw a number out there instead.
If you want to reward
after 11 years, you retire, you get such and such an amount of dollar.
I don't follow the logic.
Okay, all right. I'm just
me personally. I don't follow you. There's some members of the board. I don't follow the logic. Someone's doing a good job. You want to give them money.
All right, I forget it.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw it out there.
So the motion on the floor is, well, somebody can make this motion to accept the administrator's benefit sheet with the following change. The maximum insurance buyout is $3,000 and there's no, the retirement incentive is deleted. So if you're
Number
in
eight,
favor of the
no-
retirement incentive, you want to vote no on this. Am I making it too confusing?
No,
Sorry.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion in a second. So Kat, can you take the roll call vote?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
No.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Silva.
Yes.
Okay, so we have adjusted the SAU benefits administrators for the benefit sheet to have a maximum buyout of $3,000, and the retirement incentive will be deleted moving forward.
I have
Barbara,
another question, but they are getting a pension. We are contributing to their pension, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
They're in New Hampshire, as long as it's still the US.
okay, great, thanks. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent search update. Kristen can't be here tonight, so I will give you an update, and I know Mrs. Allaire's on.
There she
Sandy,
is.
I'll let you go ahead and give the update so I can take a
Okay.
little breather here.
No, that's fine. I'm happy to do so. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Our superintendent search committee has been meeting actively and working also actively for the past month to prepare for our first round of interviews. We have those scheduled. We have 6 candidates that will have 1-hour-long interviews with our full committee either next Monday or next Tuesday. The first portion of the process entails a 30-minute timed writing activity, and those are all scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. So we are moving ahead. We fully expect that after our interviews on Tuesday, our committee will convene to debrief, and we hope to have recommendations for finalists to move forward to round 2 by the end of next week. And from there, I know Dr. Farah and I talked about a potential timeline for phase 2, which involves the full school board. So I will allow her to kind of pick up from there. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the search process before I move on to how we will, Kristen and I have talked about how to move on to the second round. I think it's important that candidates, once they're moving through the first round and the finalists, they have some idea what the time frame is. So I anticipate that, and I'm sorry I have my phone out so I can look at my calendar, that Sandy, that your committee will be wrapped up by the end of January. I think that's fair to say, even if you have some setbacks.
Yep.
What I would like the board to, my thought, the way that we would handle the finalists, we are looking to have the committee bring 3 finalists forward, is that the board would have, in essence, a candidate night that would last 2 hours. I was proposing a date of February 9th, which is a Tuesday. What we would do prior to that, and Sandy has some great ideas about how to do this, we would solicit public questions, but we're not going to just open the floor to the public to ask random questions of the candidates. So the first week in February, we would request questions, and then some members of the board or the board could vet those, and then we'll have a list of questions for the candidates, and the candidates will, be a round robin. So whoever gets the first question, they don't answer first the next time, and so on and so forth. I think somebody not on the board should moderate. Maybe Mrs. Allaire will moderate the questions, but it will be a board meeting. Once we do that on the 9th, it is typical for the candidates to then meet in a non-public session with the board to discuss, have further private discussions, because the board is the hiring authority. So I would anticipate maybe we could do that the evening of the 10th and perhaps come to some final you know, who we would potentially want to make an offer to. At that point, if the board would be looking to move an offer forward, we would consult with counsel and enter into negotiations utilizing counsel. And then we would hopefully, if all goes well, according to the timetable, that would give about a week for negotiations. We have a board meeting scheduled on February 18th. We could potentially announce our new superintendent at that point. How do people feel about that? Sheila.
Just give me those dates again. I'm sorry. I'm just done. February 8th?
February, sorry, no, February, I know like Sean has selectmen's meetings, so I was thinking February 9th that we would have a candidates night.
And then
February
the
10th, which is
Okay.
Wednesday, the board would meet in non-public session with the finalists.
Okay, no, that's all I needed to know.
So I was looking at the 9th and 10th. Hopefully, I mean, we could have a case where candidate couldn't come on the 9th, and then we might, we'll have to, but I would say the week of the 9th, February 9th.
Okay.
Any
Yeah, I have a
questions?
Toastmasters contest, but I'll schedule around it somehow on the 10th.
Okay. This may or may not go down this, but I'm trying to set aside some dates. It could get pushed out a week, depends on.
The goal is subject to change.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they can't, for some reason, interview somebody and they get pushed. So, but that's what I'd like to look for. Any other questions on that? Okay, right. Policies, yay, we already did that. Mid-year budget review. In your packets, you have an FY 2021 projection. And I'm just opening it here. And I know, Sean, at the last meeting, you asked for a cash flow analysis. It's on the agenda. They're working on it. Just haven't had the time to get to it. So this is the mid-year projection. If you take a look at this, you'll see that, I don't know if somebody can put this, Mr. Dowd, can you put this on the screen? We had some increases in expenses. We also had some, decreases in food service contributions, but we did get quite a bit of grant money. So we're looking right now at a projected surplus of around 2.38 million.
Mr. Dowd did very well on the grants.
Yes, almost to the dime.
Good.
And I think in the agenda packet too, wasn't there, there's the information on the grant that people wanted, the breakdown of the grant, isn't there? I've just, so many documents here.
It's a little further down.
Oh, it's on a different page, Kim, further down.
Okay, well, there's a breakdown of the money, the grant money somewhere in the agenda packet. It's not in this document.
No, it's not on there. It's somewhere else on here.
It's somewhere else. Okay, any questions on that?
Yeah.
No, thank you, Jeff.
Are you talking
Maria's
Dr.
gonna
Farr, about the
explain.
executive
Yep,
summary
I
of COVID-19 expenses?
I think so. I just don't.
It's on
There
page
it is.
65.
Oh, I see it. It's in the middle.
It's in
Sorry.
the middle. There it is.
Yeah. It breaks down all the expenses. So the remote learning grant, we got $15,000 on. The CARES grant was $124,000. The SPSRF grant, whatever that is, was $652,000. So we've gotten $790,000 in grant money here.
Great.
And so we use that to offset some of the cost of, like, the Chromebooks, which technology was $260,000. We had the floaters, pandemic floaters, 195, disinfectants, cleaning, PPE, those sort of things were a couple $100,000. So
Okay.
there's a nice executive summary in your packet. There it is, right there. What the grant money influx was and what it was applied towards. And unfortunately, we missed $53, but
We're still scraping.
Still scraping.
Let's see. Thank you, Maria, for all your help on both of these. Very much appreciate and want to recognize that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Maria.
You're welcome. Okay. I think that's a mid-year budget review. Any other questions? If not, I will turn it over to Dr. Cochran in just a second. I know Mrs. Belcher wanted to point out the registration for incoming preschool, pre-K kindergartens for 21-22. You can find information on the parent information site on the district website or the school website, and there's an online process for new students, enrolling students that opens February 1st. So spread the word, people that are listening tonight, so that parents can get their students registered. So Dr. Cochran, I'll turn it over to you for your administrator's report.
We have a facilities update from our consultant, Mark Fournier. We've been contracted with Train to look at HVAC equipment assessment and evaluation. It began on, the on-site assessment process began on January 15th. Both the Pollard and middle school are complete. Trained staff are currently performing work at the high school. Air exchange testing, we're doing testing and balancing. We'll have a schedule set up by the end of this week. We're working with Rise Engineering Energy Efficiency Consultants. So far, audits have completed at the high school, the middle school, Sanborn North and Central, Danville and Atkinson Academy. Final energy audits at Pollard, the PAC, and the SAU on 1/27. So early next week. We have started working on a staffing study. We're trying to determine, do we have the right amount of facilities folks and the right positions for the size of the district and the buildings and grounds that we have. So we have reached out to about 10 or 12 school districts that are the similar size as us to see, what is the actual amount of facilities by square feet that they're maintaining. What are their costs? What are the positions that are filling? Or what do they have in terms of that total capacity? We have received those forms back from Derry, Dover, and Concord. So with ours, that's 4 together. And we have promised any of the schools, school districts who participated, that we would in fact send out that information for them. In Massachusetts, this is done by the at a state level, so that there's a much larger database. But I think it'd be helpful for all of the state to have access to this. And of course, districts of different sizes have different needs. And so in our case, we were trying to get some relevant information so we can make sure that we're maximizing our facilities and doing so in a cost-effective way. Mr. Fournier also has detected a moisture problem in the block walls of the high school and some of the other schools. He has taken some pictures and other evidence, no indication of what's causing the moisture. And he sent it out to a colleague who will report back on the possible situation. And he's also a master arborist, and he conducted a workshop on pruning with some of our staff, and those will continue. So that's the HVAC update. I've received on behalf of the district a $500 donation from ExxonMobil. And it's going to be used for the Sandown North Elementary School STEM program. The memo to the community you have just read. And so what I have left is a nomination for the SAU 106 lead accountant. Contract begins January 1st of this year, or sorry, July 1st of this year. The person that we're nominating will fill in the position formerly held by Maria Watson. And So they will be in the SAU 55 office. Rather, I said Watson rather than Watkins, I apologize. So there'll be an SAU 55 employee until July 1, and then we'll move to SAU 106. And the nominee is Lisa Oliver, and I'd like to nominate her to the board at a salary of $96,000.
I'll make a motion to accept the nomination of Lisa Oliver as the lead accountant.
By the way, the interview was extremely high caliber. References were top notch.
So there's a
second.
Lee seconds. Any further discussion? Kat, can you take a roll call vote?
Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
and Mrs. Silva left at 8:34.
Okay, great.
It's nice to see the new SAU 106 shaping up.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Lisa.
Last piece of business, retirement of Claire Haggerty Woodward from Pollard Elementary School, occupational therapist after 26 years of service. And I want to thank Claire and congratulate her for all of her time and effort and energy on behalf of our students and their families, and congratulate her. That's all I have. So congratulations, Claire. Everything from my piece.
Okay, we need to a motion to
Okay.
accept that.
I'll make a motion to accept the retirement of Claire Haggerty Woodward with gratitude and well wishes on her retirement.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Kat, can you take the roll call, please?
Mr. Boyle,
Yes.
Mr. Doobie,
Yes.
Dr. Farah,
Yes.
Mrs. Kishka,
Yes.
Ms. Lowe's,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cochran. Is there anything else? Committee reports? Anybody? No? No reports to the school board? Okay. We all set? I'm not gonna know what to do with myself the rest of the night, guys.
You're only 15 minutes early. We got a lot
I know,
done.
but it's not even 10 o'clock. Okay, well, thank you very much. We will plan to meet at the deliberative session on the 4th. That will be live. If you are not attending, could you just let me know, just so I make sure I have a quorum for that? Actually, I don't even think we need a quorum for that, but just let me know so we're not waiting on people. And if I don't see you then, remember that meeting will be at 9 o'clock, February 4th, after deliberative. We only need to revote articles that have numbers changed. So it'll probably be the 3 CBAs and the budget number, obviously, because the default number. So it should be a quick 4 votes on those numbers. I don't anticipate that we would see any other changes. All right, thank you to everybody who attended, and thank you to the staff for all your continued hard work.
Good
Have a
night.
nice night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.